Hey everyone, welcome to Our Small Footprint. My name is Nyssa, and if you're new here, we are a family of 8 who live off-grid in Australia. Today's video is like a what we eat in a week, except that it's a little all over the place. So our family shops every 8 to 9 weeks, and this is the last week in a 9-week shopping period, or 8-week shopping period. 9 weeks, I'm pretty sure this one was. We got a Pantry food hamper just before I started filming this, so a lot of the stuff, bits and pieces that we used were from that food hamper. And as per usual, children interrupted, so even the intro to this video is going to be a little bit squirrely. So we got the food hamper, and a lot of the meals contain items in there, which are items that we don't necessarily buy, or that we got in bulk, or that were just add-ons to what we got. And the rest of the time we were using up pretty much just the ends of our things. So around about this time of the year, there's a lot of channels that do pantry challenges. And this is sort of our version of a pantry challenge, but we do it every shopping trip. So we are on the, 9th week of a 9-week shopping period. And that means that we go through checking fridges and freezers and using whatever needs to be used and turning it into some sort of an edible meal. I thought that I had 5 minutes to myself, but obviously I didn't, so more children interrupting. So yes, it's our version of a pantry challenge. It's using whatever we want: fridges, freezers, pantries, anything that's left over. I did a video, it came out on Sunday, that showed how I inventory before I do my shop, and I had like 4 tiny ends of packets of arborio rice left, so we made some risotto and things like that. Now the meals in this last week aren't always particularly well balanced. They're, as I said, they're a bit of a throw together. I try and do as best I can, but at the same time we are getting low on a lot of things, and that's just the way it works. We also have had to purchase a few bits and pieces from town this shopping period, because we did the whole carnivore / keto thing, and the kids just are eating more. So we've had more meat required, but there's just been more food in general too. So we have spent more money than I would have liked in town this month, above and beyond the normal groceries that we already bought, and I'm trying to take that into account for the next one. And another interruption. That's 3 kids down. How many have we more got left to go? So this is around about a week's worth of meals. This is various lunches and dinners, and now because I've been speaking while I'm doing it, it's a little bit different to the voiceover, and you'll have to let me know if you prefer this, or if you would prefer these what we eat in a week videos to be voiceover, though it is a lot of work to do them voiceovered. But yeah, it's sort of, I don't know, it's a dozen meals, I suppose, some lunches, some dinners, and it's not everything we eat. It is just a spackling of the meals that I prepare over that sort of a week period, and if the kids have stuff that they do themselves, then I don't necessarily film it. I didn't film like lunch today, and lunch today was the kids boiled up some eggs and made some mayo, and then they had that with leftover chicken on the hamburger rolls that were left over from last night. So those sorts of things I don't always film either, and I have been a bit slack with eating in this last section of the 9 weeks as well, because there just hasn't been a whole lot of choice when you're trying to keep the carbs low, which is something I'm working on for the next shop too. So all that to say, got about 12 odd meals that span around about a week and to share, and everyone seems to like these, and I like them too, because I find them a little bit like flicking through a recipe catalogue. They're short bits of each thing. Now, if there's anything in there that I've got a recipe for up on the website, I will try to put a link down below. I am still just so slack with getting them up on there. It's just a time-consuming thing that I never seem to get to. I do need to work on it, that and social media and shorts, all those things, just things. So enjoy anyway, and I will see you guys on the next videos, which should be shopping and post-shopping videos, because that's where I'm off to today, after a bit of a delay, but I'm getting there. So for the kids tonight, I've got the garlic butter emulsion that I made in previous video on the baguettes that I made, and we're going to use some lettuce and some tomato and some pastrami, and I'm just going to make open-faced sandwiches. There's plenty of other things they can have as well, but this is going to be the start. So we've got some of the pastrami to go on, and this pastrami just falls apart. It is absolutely delicious. Seems almost a waste to feed it to the children. And we're just going to layer these up. So I'm just going to layer the tomato on there as well. And then we have heaps of lettuce from the hamper, which will just add a nice crunch, and most of the kids enjoy lettuce. So all I'm going to do is like that, and then they've got the 2 layers of meat, the lettuce, the tomato sandwiches, and then I'm going to cut each of these into 3, and then if the bigger kids want more than this, then we will do more up, but we will start with this as the beginning. So we've got this lovely pastrami toasted bun salad thing. There's plenty of meat left, plenty of salads left, but this is just going to be the start of the meal. And this is just the end of the porterhouse. Bit of a treat, bit more than we'd normally eat, but it's just the very end of it, and it's his birthday, so we're just going to fry this off. Alrighty, so this is the garlic butter emulsion, smoked garlic butter emulsion that hasn't been refrigerated yet. So that's what we're doing for dinner tonight. And there we go, Darryl's birthday dinner. You want to flourish it? So there we go, I've heated this one up, so now I can cut it in half and hopefully pull it open. We'll see if it is hot, it's warm. So yep, we got a pocket like that. Let's adjust you slightly. So we got that pocket, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of the pastrami in there, and then I dressed the salad with the salad dressing so that it makes it nice and easy. Running out of room here, of course. So I've got that in there, and then all I'm going to do is stuff it with that dressed salad as well. And there we go, the kids can have pita pockets with the pastrami and the salad. Alright, Tuesday morning I'm going to make them a breakfast lunch type thing. I made yogurt the other day, but I still haven't made any granola, and I do need to make more of their oats for the fridge, but that's not going to help me today because it takes a day for it to set up. So I'm going to make like a pancake bake rather than individual pancakes, and I'm going to bump the protein in it. So I'm going to start off with about 600 grams of yogurt. Now, my homemade yogurt isn't exceptionally high in protein, but it is still a good base for things. We're going to put 6 eggs in. We're very low on eggs at the moment because the goanna is stealing all our eggs. So otherwise I could make like Dutch baby, things like that, but I can't because I don't have many eggs. So 6 is already pushing it. I'm going to put sort of a dash of vanilla. I'm going to put probably just about a cup of flour. I'm going to bump that vanilla a bit more. Probably just a cup of flour, and I'm just going to put like a small amount of sugar as well. You could use maple syrup or honey or something too, but sugar's the cheapest sweetener. So I'm just going to use about 1/4 cup, which is about 50, I've got something on my screen I couldn't even see, 50 grams maybe of sugar. I'm going to blend that up first, and then I'm going to add some flour and some baking powder. It's about 175 grams of flour. It's a little over a cup's worth, and we want some baking powder. Now we probably want sort of a tablespoon. My yogurt's fairly thin, so I reckon I'm going to add some more flour to that one and bring the consistency up more to a pancake consistency. So that's much better consistency, but still pretty thin. So what I think I'm going to do is I don't want to bump the flour too much because there's just not enough flavour in here to compensate for that, in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some protein powder to it, and then I'm going to call it good. Let's go with this caramel cinnamon bun. As per usual, I'm using Macro Mike, no sponsorship here, just that this is the one that we found we consistently like the flavour of, the texture of, and they have some big sales. So when they do, I order a bunch of different flavours. So 2 scoops of protein powder in there. We're going to mix that up as well. There we go. We got a bit of a more pancake texture there. Happy with that. All right, I need to make notes on what I did there if this works out, but that looks pretty good to me. So I've got the oven preheating at 280 odd, and then I'm just going to pour this into the baking tray, which is sort of an equivalent of a 9 by 13, I believe. It's a classic cast iron baking tray. So the goals around planning the food this shopping trip is boosting protein levels to keep the kids fuller, which is something I always do over winter anyway. And we're starting whilst we're still in the middle of summer, because it's 2 months between shops. We're starting to get into the cooler weather in the next section of the shop, sort of thing. So it's something I have to think about in advance. I also normally do winter pajamas for Easter. We don't celebrate Easter as such, but I normally use it as an excuse to buy winter pajamas, so that's something I have to look at too. Okay, so we got the batter in here. Now I have some frozen blueberries, so I'm going to scatter some blueberries over the top. Not too many, because some of the kids are a little bit funny about having fruit in their pancakes. I was going to use one of my jars of blueberries and puree it up and make it into sort of a compote, but I seem to have used them all. So just a handful of blueberries, and then I pulled out the sugar-free chocolate chips that I made and had all that trouble with at Christmas time and have never actually used, because we don't have any other normal chocolate chips at the moment. So these will be good as a topper on here as well. So just a smattering of those chocolate chips on there as well. So that's it. So I'm going to put that in the oven, 180 for 25-30 minutes. And then they can serve it with a little drizzle of maple syrup if they want, or I could melt some of that gingerbread spice nut butter. And I think the plan is to keep working on this base recipe to make some bunches of different flavors, because this is a nice easy way to make a higher protein breakfast for them. So I'll bring you back once it's done. All right, it took about 45 minutes to cook, so I probably should have split it between 2 different trays, I reckon, because it's ended up quite big in the middle, and it seems to be cooked, but we shall see. It bounces back in the middle. But yeah, it's ended up quite significantly puffed. We probably could have done it in two trays, because I think it's going to be... Oh no, it looks cooked in the middle. The blueberries have left it a little bit moist, but it's cooked. So the blueberries have sunk a little bit, probably because it took that little bit longer to cook too. But I think that I'd split it into 2 trays and cook it for the 20-25 minutes rather than the 45 in one big one, for future reference if the kids are happy with it. But it looks pretty good. It's nice and fluffy, which is nice. Now cutting it hot means that it's going to be a little more wet in the middle too. So, but the kids are hanging around waiting. So that is sort of brunch today. All right, we're on what, Tuesday afternoon, I don't know. Another meal. We got a whole bunch of these small white potatoes with the hamper, so I'm going to steam them whole since I'm getting done early enough, and then I'm going to smash them and roast them. So this is going to be part of the kids' dinner, and then I'm going to make something with meatballs, I think. So I'm going to get these on to steam nice and early. It's only 3:45, so they'll take probably half an hour to steam before I can smash them and roast them for 30 minutes. And I pulled some mince out of the freezer. Now, when I minced this beef originally, it was not this month. It was from trim the month before or the month before. I minced it, but we had misplaced the small mincing plate. I only had the bigger one. And because this was beef trim and it was just a little bit too gristly, so we ate it like this in something, but there was some real unpleasant mouthfeel to it. So I've been holding on to it to either slow cook it into something or remince it. So I've got 2 bags here, and I'm just going to run it straight through the mincer, super quick. We'll probably have hamburgers for dinner tomorrow night with half of it, and the other half turned into meatballs or something today. I changed my mind. In this heat, the mincer really didn't like remincing this. You can tell it's a little bit emulsified as it's gone through, which is fine because we're using it for meatballs, but not so great if I was to use it for hamburgers or anything. So I only did the one bag to use for dinner tonight. The other bag I just put back in the fridge for me to figure out what I want to do. The flies are bad too because of the heat. So I'm going to get this covered and mixed up. I'm going to do a couple of onions minced up in the Thermomix to add into the meatball mix. Now I normally make a version of it's like a French onion meatball mix, and I've made it on here before. I'm not going that in depth today. I don't think I've got any French onion soup mix made up. I make it from scratch, so I'm just going to throw stuff in today, and this is just what we eat in a week anyway, not a full recipe type thing anyway. You know what I'm trying to say. So I'm just going to throw, I might grab a third one of those. We like our onions really fine, so I do like 5 seconds, speed 5, and it ends up a fairly fine mince with a few bigger bits in it. The kids don't like the crunch of it, so I'm just going to toss that in on top of this mince, which will help dissuade the flies as well. I need to get moving on this. So I need to go and grab some garlic. I'm going to add a really good slug of garlic in here. I'm also going to add some Worcestershire sauce. I'm going to add a little bit, molasses. If you keep it closed in the heat, it can explode. Obviously that one was done up properly. I don't normally do it up completely because that happens. Not that you guys can see what I'm doing anyway. I'm doing really well here, but molasses in there, and I just need to clean up now. One of the kids must have left that closed completely. All right, I've got the end of a bag of panko crumbs here that I'm going to stick in. Like that. I'm also going to add some onion powder to bump that flavour up. Some paprika, just do a slug of that, and I'm going to get some beef stock for this as well, because the beef stock is what's normally in my French onion soup mix. So this is the Vegeta brand. I normally buy Massel brand. This was on sale at some point when I did it, so I'm just going to give a I'm going to have to wash this because it keeps on falling into the meat. I'm going to just give it a generous, it's probably a couple of tablespoons, really not measuring. And I need to find some eggs and then the bacon, and then I'm just going to bring it all together and that will be my meatballs. I also add a little bit of coconut cream, so 100 grams maybe, 100 mils maybe, quarter of a cup sort of amount. All right, so now I'm just going to bring it together. I still haven't got the bacon in there because it's still frozen. I'm still working on that, but that's it. All right, I managed to cut about half a kilo of that bacon off in chunks, so I'm just going to put that into the Thermomix to mince up as well, and then I'm going to mix the meatballs up. All right, so last ingredient in is just that 500 grams of bacon all minced up into a mince-like texture to go with meatballs. All right, and now I'm just going to bring it together and we'll have a look at the texture of it with the, might need a bit more of binder, might need some almond meal or something because I only had the end of that pack of pork panko. So it might be a little moist. So yeah, it's a little bit wet, so I'm going to add just a little bit of almond meal to give it a little bit more holdability, and then I'm going to start rolling them. All right, washed hands. I'm just going to eyeball this. That looks good to me. And the normally I'd use sourdough breadcrumbs, and I actually have some sourdough there to turn into breadcrumbs, but obviously Darryl and I aren't doing carbs at the moment, so this is a low carb way to do it. But if I was just doing this for the kids, I'd just use sourdough breadcrumbs, and actually if I was doing it just for us, I'd probably do it with cheese. But because I'm doing it for everyone. So that's a bit of consistency. Potatoes are fork tender, so I've turned them off, and then I'll just roll these onto a baking pan to get them into the oven. I'm doing sort of almost mini risotto size rather than meatball size, partly because I'm being lazy, because I just don't want to sit here and shape them all, but also because my smaller scoop got broken and I haven't replaced it yet. Well, I have put it on the tool table to see if Darryl can fix it, but in the meantime I've only got the next size up, which ends up being about this size, which is probably 1.5 times the size that I normally do them. I have been known to weigh my meatballs, which got me a lot of flack a while back. But I normally do them at 30-gram weight. That way they all cook at the same rate and everything else, and they're nice and small for all different uses. As I said, I'm really pooped and I just want to get this done, so I'm doing them at this size. And I'll just do 2 full trays worth. I'm going to shift these up so that they're closer together, and I should be able to get another couple of rows on this one, and hopefully I'll be able to fit it all on 2 trays, because I also need to get the tray of potatoes into the oven at the same time. So we will see how we go. And yeah, I bake these, I don't pan fry them. Again, a little bit of laziness there. I don't want to stand over the stove doing it, but also if I've been a bit off in my measurements, which is quite possible in this one because I really did just wing it, and they start falling apart, it's better for them to be handled less on a baking tray than to be turned and stuff on a fry pan. So I'm just going to fill 2 trays with these and get them in the oven, and I'll bring you back when I do the potatoes. All right, and with the potatoes, all I'm going to do is put them on the tray, smash them, and I'm going to oil them and season them. All right, that's all I'm doing, and then I'm just going to spray them all with a bit of oil, a bit of salt, and I've actually got, this is homemade rosemary, lemon, citrus salt. So it's rosemary from the garden that has been pureed, dehydrated, pure and powdered up with some lemon rind and a bit of salt. So rosemary and potatoes, in my opinion, are one of the best flavour profiles. Mind you, I'm not the one eating these, but the kids can enjoy it. So we got rosemary salt, rosemary citrus salt on the smashed potatoes, and we're just going to stick them in the oven and they'll crisp up nicely. And that can go with the meatballs, and I'll probably cook them up a bit of gravy. So that'll be dinner tonight. So here we go. We've got the meatballs. They are a bit soft textured because that mince just didn't like going through the mincer a second time, and we've got the potatoes all sort of crispy on top, smashed with that rosemary citrus salt and some of the favourite Maggi gravy. So this is what the kids are going to have for dinner, and Darryl and I will just have some of the meatballs on their own. All right, it is Wednesday morning. The kids finished off the last of the blended oats and the last of the pancake thing from yesterday for breakfast, but they really liked the pancake thing, so I'm going to make another batch of that, but I'm going to try splitting it between the 2 trays. And then I'll have to make more of the blended oats for them as well. So we'll use the rest of this yogurt up, and then I'll make a fresh batch of yogurt. So I'm going to make the exact same pancake bake that I made yesterday, except that I'm going to split it between 2 pans and see how it cooks up. So everyone was happy with the flavour and everything yesterday though. So we're going to do 600 grams of yogurt. We used 6 eggs, which I've cracked in. These are actually the last 6 eggs we've got in the fridge at the moment, which is just really irritating when we should have eggs everywhere. I'm going to use a generous amount of vanilla again. I did use some sugar yesterday, and then I used the protein powder, but I could probably get away without the sugar because the protein powder is sweetened. So I'm going to give that a go today, especially because I'm putting fruit on it as well. So that's all my wet ingredients. I'm going to blend them up. The protein powder, so again we use 2 scoops, which I think is about 80 grams, maybe 60. So 60 grams of, and we use the caramel cinnamon bun peanut protein from Macro Mike because that's what I buy. And then we ended up with 350 grams of flour yesterday, around about a tablespoon. I've got 2 teaspoons there, and I'm going to put it back on 5. Scrape that down and re-blend. So we want about 30 seconds all up of a nice blend and make it nice and airy, and I'm happy with that consistency. It was about the same yesterday, so that worked. So I'm just going to pour it into 2 trays. I'm going to top it with frozen blueberries again, but I will probably top it with some other chocolate, not the sugar-free ones, because the sugar-free chocolate did not melt. It just sort of, it was an odd texture on top. You saw it yesterday. So I might grate some of the dark chocolate block that I've got to sprinkle over the top. So I'm just going to grab containers and get that done, and I'll show you once they're cooked. Darryl and I are just having some stir-fried rump steak with some of that garlic butter emulsion on top, the smoked garlic butter emulsion, and our iced coffees, and then I'm going to get the kids' pancakes out of the oven shortly. So these still took sort of 35 minutes probably to cook through, even in the smaller container, which is fine. Just something to be aware of, that even in the smaller containers they take a bit longer, but hopefully they'll be a little more solid. So the larger container ended up with some moist, wet stuff in the middle. Not that the kids complain, but I'd prefer to make sure that it's cooked all the way through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull one of these out and slice it up. Let me grab a knife. Now, obviously, like bread, they'd probably be better if it was left a little bit to cool before trying to slice it up, but I want to go finish my lunch and the kids are hanging for it. So I'm going to put one up on a rack to cool, and then I'm going to pull this one out and we'll have a look at it. Let's cut this into 6 for the 6 kids. It smells lovely as you're cutting it open, I tell you. Sweet, but not excessively sweet, and yep, cooked all the way through. It's moist in there, like even when it's cooked all the way through, it's moist, but it's fluffy, and the kids have really enjoyed the other one, and they ate it cold too. But I think that looks pretty amazing. Actually, if I was eating this sort of stuff at the moment, I'd be pretty happy with that. So gonna call them out for that. There's another one there for tomorrow or later afternoon snack or whatever, don't really care. And yeah, we're going to stick with making these fairly regularly too. All right, it is Thursday lunchtime. Darryl and I had some leftover meatballs with cheese and butter. He made it, so we didn't photograph it or anything. I bought these viral noodles off Amazon because I'd seen them around and I really wanted to try them, because flat noodles are something I really enjoy. Though I do normally do rice ones, and these are wheat-based. Anyway, I tried one for dinner last night. You know, naughty me. Darryl had rump steak with garlic butter. Again, I don't think I filmed that. I think I filmed the kids' dinner. I can't remember. Anyway, food is a bit all over. It's all over the place this week because it's the last week before shopping. So these came in packs of 8. I quite liked it, but it wasn't anything, you know, life-changing, and I really don't need to eat any more because I shouldn't have eaten the first packet. So what I'm going to do is the other 6 packets that are here, I'm going to heat up for the kids for lunch. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put all the noodles into one pot of boiling water. I tried 2 packets last night. So I tried a packet of each flavour and shared them with the kids. The sesame paste flavour and then the spicy hot flavour. The first one I tried in a thermoserver with boiling water, put it in there, left it for a few minutes with the lid on, and they were still quite chewy. I like them a bit softer than that. So the second batch I did in boiling water on the stove. So that's what I'm going to do with these. I'm just going to throw all 6 into a pot of boiling water. With the sesame paste ones have a container of veggies in them, so I'll put the veggies in the hot boiling water as well, and then the kids can serve themselves between, we'll split it into 6 bowls, and they can serve themselves between the flavors, the sesame paste and the chili paste and things like that. Or maybe I'll mix it all together and then it can be a milder chili and they can have it over the top. We'll see. So that's what the kids are having for lunch today. So the sesame paste one has this little packet that has the veggies on it, and they're just some little bits of carrot, some green bits and things like that. So I'm going to put them in with the boiling water, and then when I drain the noodles, they will be cooked in there as well. So there was 3 of those. The chili one has a chili sauce, a seasoning mix, and a soy sauce. And then the paste one has a seasoning mix, the paste, and the veggies. So all the veggies are in there as well. Look at all this rubbish. This is why we don't buy single serve items. And I'm going to get these noodles cooking. So I'm just going to bring this water up to a boil and boil it for like 90 seconds, and then that should be done. By the time it comes up to a boil, they'll have separated out a bit, and then they will be sorted. So that came up to the boil for about 30 seconds, lovely and soft and silky. I'm going to strain these now. I am going to keep a little bit of the noodle water as well, just in case I need a bit of liquid. All right, I've just split the noodles into 6 bowls. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of pasta water in each to keep it from getting too sticky. And then we've got seasoning mixes. Now, I feel like these seasoning mixes are the same between the different flavors. It's only the add-ons that are different. So I'm just going to stick a seasoning mix in each bowl, and then they can pick from the other stuff and share. All right, so all the seasoning mixes seem to be pretty much the same. And then you've got the soy with the chili or the sesame paste, so they can figure out what they want to add to theirs, and then that's lunch for them. For dinner tonight, the kids really enjoyed the smashed potatoes that I made the other day, so I've steamed up another batch of potatoes. And I'm going to do the same thing as I did last time, but I think today we'll do it with some, I don't know, maybe some salsa and some, I think I've got some beef mince maybe or something, so I might turn them into like a nacho plate, but with the potato as the base or something, or I'll do some gravy up and they can have some tin corn, and you know, we'll make it work with whatever. And we've got to use these potatoes, so because they enjoyed them, it seemed like a good use of them to do it again. So while I was doing other stuff, I've steamed these, and then I'm going to throw them in the oven, and I did a second tray's worth, so I'm going to put 2 trays into the oven today. And I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of ghee over the top of these, and then use the rosemary citrus salt again, just like that. I'm going to get this in the oven, and I'm just going to do the second tray exactly the same. Friday time, the kids had you know, the mixed porridge stuff that I've been making for breakfast, and they've had apples and some baked beans and stuff throughout the day, but I'm going to make them some flatbreads for lunch. I don't know what I've got to go with them, but they will find something. Darryl and I have had a protein bar because it's just, we've been really busy, lots of D&D work, and he's going to go and hopefully pick up the car. It may be fixed, which would be really nice. So I'm just going to make a quick batch of flatbreads. So the recipe is really simple. 400 grams of water. We've got sort of 20 grams of yeast. We want this to be a nice quick rise. 100 grams of olive oil. I found some from Aldi on the shelf, so top up of the Kirkland stuff, and I'm going to add just a bit of salt, and then 800 grams of baking flour, and that's it. So I just bring it together on 5, and then I knead it for a couple of minutes on the dough setting. Flour is in there, 800 grams of flour, and we just let it go for a couple of minutes. Couple of minutes, rough knead, that's all it needs, and it's just going to go on the mat for 10 minutes to rest before I divide it up into balls and get started. Super simple dough, doesn't need much working, doesn't need to be kneaded particularly heavily, just like that, sit for 10 minutes. All right, it's sat here for 10, so all I'm going to do is now just squeeze off little balls. Now, sometimes I weigh these, sometimes I don't. I get them about correct, and we're going to be frying them, so being slightly different sizing isn't going to impact cooking time or anything else. Like when I do bread rolls and stuff, I like to weigh them and make sure that they're all the same size, because they're going to be baked in the oven, and you want all of them to bake in the same time span, but because these are being fried, it's not such a big deal. Now it's not as warm today, so, and I used cool water, so it's not quite as proofed as I would like. I also forgot to add a sugar. I normally add a teaspoon of sugar, which will help the yeast to pick up, but they're going to be used as flatbreads. So the fact that they're yeasted is really just because it's a preference. They don't have to be yeasted. So the fact that the yeast isn't quite doing what I need it to do, and all the rest of it, this is we're working with what we've got. So ideally, I would have put a teaspoon of sugar in with this. Ideally, it'd be a little bit more fluffy once I get to this point. Ideally, these balls would be a little more neat and size appropriate. But today we're not going for ideal. Today we're going for let's feed the children before I go back to doing work, while Darryl is gone trying to sort out the car, because I have to plan shopping next week. So, it's one of those things. So all I do is I just break off the pieces that are around about the same size. And if I needed a specific amount, yes, I would weigh it, but it really doesn't matter. So that's what we got today. I'm just going to spray them with a little bit of oil and stick the mat back over them, let them rest for 10 minutes because otherwise it's too hard to roll them out. All right, I'm being impatient. These really could probably do with longer, and I just want to get it cooked and done. I gave the cast iron a bit of a clean, so I've got it heating up already because it just needed a scrape and a clean. So it's ready to go. And as I said, I just want to get them done. So I'm just going to roll them out. I tend to roll them out in sort of an elongated oval because then I can fit 2 per square pan of my cast iron pans. And the kids don't care what shape they are, and they're not tortillas, they're flatbreads rather than, for wrapping like burritos or anything like that up in. So just going to roll these out, get them cooked off. Just a little bit of oil in the pan because I just, as I said, cleaned and re-oiled them, so we get the nice crispy. I really like those crispy bubbles on the flatbread. Some people prefer them soft, and if you want them soft you need to do no oil in the pan and generally put them in a tea towel or something afterwards. But these are a yeasted flatbread. They're quite soft even with that crunchy sort of bits on them, so, and that's the way I like them. Not that I'm eating them, but I tend to cook things the way I like them because I just do. And we've got a rooster on the patio again. So they don't take very long, nice and thin. We get the colour on both sides, and then I just pop them off, add a couple more, and go through and cook the whole batch. Whatever they don't eat can go in the fridge, and they can warm them up and eat in the next meal. Alrighty. Friday dinner. We bought a cheap rump from the IGA, much like we did the porterhouse the other day. So we've been using that for bits and pieces of things, and I'm going to make a red curry tonight using the beef. So I've just got some, I think it's basmati. Yep, some basmati rice in a pot. All I do is I put enough water up to the second knuckle. I don't wash my rice or anything. It's not something that I do. And water up to second knuckle, bring it up to a boil. Once it's boiling, turn it down to a simmer for 15 minutes, and then that's it. That's rice done. So I'm going to put rice on for the kids to have with their curry. Darryl had to go into town to pick up the car today, so we've got the car back. I'll go into that in more detail in a video you'll see before this one. But while he did that, he grabbed some fresh broccoli and beans for us. Much more expensive to buy it in town than anywhere else, but really nice to have with this curry for dinner tonight. So I'm just going to top and tail the beans. Some of them are not superb, and get these sorted. So all I do is I tend to just cut them into little batons for eating. We like to use the whole of the broccoli, not just the head. So I tend to trim the stems if they've got any moisture damaged bits, and then just slice them into sticks as well. Just little sticks like that, and that goes into the curry as well. And then the bigger flority bits I just slice like that. So I'm just going to do that with all of it and get it all ready to go. Alright, so I have cut up the beef. Got about 1.2 kilos of just rump cut into little pieces. I'm going to put some oil in the pan and get this curry paste cooked off first. And a little bit of coconut cream to cook off that curry paste. And then I'm going to add the beef. I'd split this between two pots, but my other pot is dirty at the moment, so don't put the cat near the food.
But it's kitty.
So I'm just going to brown that off a little bit, but as I said, I'd normally do this in two pans. It's rump, it's really nice and tender, so it's not going to be such a big deal to be cooked this way. Alright, I'm going to add the rest of the coconut cream. Now, Daryl and I are eating this one as well, so I don't want to add too much coconut cream, but I also only have like 2 tins left. To add a tin of water. And then I've got a couple of the chicken stock pots that came with the hamper. So I'm going to add those. Seems they need using, and they're a nice condensed flavour without too much added liquid, because you can easily get a bit too much liquid in these curries if you go adding things. There we go. Now I'm going to add some fish sauce as well. Good squeeze. I'm gonna mix this up a bit, and then I'm gonna stick the veggies in and put a lid on to let the veggies and the meat steam and cook. So got this big bowl of, this is why I normally, this cooks down a lot, but this is why I normally do it in 2 pots. So I don't make a mess when I'm trying to mix everything up. So we've got 2 big heads of broccoli, tray of beans. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to set it like that for the moment. I'm going to put a lid on it, and then it'll simmer and steam those veggies. Just like that. We'll let that cook for 10 minutes, and then I'll stir it around and get everything moving and add any other flavours. I'm just going to add a little bit of lemon juice. I would normally add lime juice to green curry, but I don't have any at the moment. So I'm just going to mix that through, and then this is pretty much done. A bit of salt maybe. Now the colour of it isn't super appealing because I cooked the beef in the sauce. If I had have cooked the beef separately and served it slightly differently, then the curry would be more of a green, but we don't care. It's going to taste good. So that's all I'm going to do. So that is done, and then the rice is done as well, all cooked, ready to go. So all I'm going to do is fluff the rice. Perfect fluffy rice, so the kids can come and bring bowls and they can grab a scoop of rice, scoop of curry, and dinner is served. Alright, it's Saturday night. Dinner tonight I was going to baked risotto and split chickens, but the split chickens are still frozen solid. I still have the end of the rump to use, so instead I'm going to use that, and I'm going to do udon noodle stir fry for the kids, and I don't know, I've got a head of broccoli left so they can have it with frozen veg. So I've still got a head of broccoli there, so I might just do bits of beef with some broccoli and something, I don't know, for Daryl and I. But I can do it cooked in cooked udon noodles for the kids at least. So I know what I'm doing there. Frozen veg, udon noodles, oyster sauce, that sort of thing. So I'll cut the rest of this up, and then I've got a cat. As soon as the meat comes out, there's a cat at my feet. So I will feed the scraps to her and the dogs, and yeah, get all this cut up for that. So I've got the beef here for the kids. I'm going to put a little sprinkle of vegeta on the beef just to season it. Salt and pepper would work too, but vegeta is always nice to add a little bit more of that depth of flavour in a stir fry. And I've got a pan heating. I've just put water on to heat the udon noodles and a steamer pot on with all the veggies in it, the frozen veg. So basically I cook the beef off, heat the noodles, and then we mix it all through with some oyster sauce. It's a favourite meal of the kids and super easy. So cast iron pan hot, I'm going to put this on there. Alright, so super simple. Udon noodles got heated up in some boiling water. We've got the steamed veg and the beef, and all I'm going to do, it's normally in the fridge. All I'm going to do is add some oyster sauce and some soy sauce, and normally I do a little bit of rice wine vinegar, that sort of thing, and they adjust it as needed. So normally just a bit of soy. I do make a Chinese stir fry sauce up, but the kids really don't care. So this works just as well too, because the udon noodles, that way I don't cook them on the pan. Like if I made the Chinese sauce, it normally has cornstarch and stuff in it, which means it needs to be cooked off in a pan, but the kids are more than happy to have it like this. So Sonnet, can you put a little bit of water in that for me, please? Just a little bit. And we'll get the rest of the sauce out.
Sink or Berkey?
Berkey, please. And there is another jar of oyster sauce on the pantry if we need it. So just a bit of water in to get the rest of that out. And then they can taste it, and then they can decide if they want to put more sauce in it or not. Up to them. So super easy. Favoured meal. And Darryl and I just having a bit of the steak with some broccoli and the roasted garlic butter. It is Monday, which is the last day of bits and pieces of food that I'm going to do for this What We Eat in a Week. And so lunch today, the kids had leftovers. So there was leftover green curry with beef, there was leftover risotto, there was leftover chicken, split chicken, and there was leftover green chicken. Sorry, no, that was the beef curry. What else was there? There was something else. Some pita breads or something. I don't know. It was leftovers. They had leftovers. And I had coffee, I think. It's late. It's already 3 o'clock. Darryl's had to go to the tip today. It's the first time we've had the car. We had to get to the post office, things like that. So a bunch of stuff done. And still getting ready for the grocery trip. So I'm going to quickly mix up some hamburger buns. It should be time enough to get them proofed and cooked for dinner. I'll use plenty of yeast, and I'll use some warm water. So that's what I'm going to do first. And then I'm going to make a bunch of their porridge and smoothie pops, because that's what they'll need while I'm gone. So let me get the dough together for the hamburgers. All right, dough's in mixing. It takes quite a few minutes because it's a slightly enriched dough. The recipe for my hamburger bun brioche dough is on the website. And now I'm going to mix up the porridge stuff, because then I can just use the same jug for the smoothies like I did last time. So that's the next step. Right, so dough's in here to double, which in this heat should be fine in time. It's only 3:30, so, but I am leaving it a bit late because I'm just a bit pooped. So looking forward to, as much as the groceries are hard work, I also look forward to it being just a little bit of a break. Evenings are a lot more peaceful, and Mum normally orders in food and stuff like that. So put this aside and move on to the porridge. All right, porridge wise, the kids are really enjoying what I'm doing, so that's what I'm going to stick with. when they start complaining or not eating it, then I'll move to something else, but for the moment. So I bought some of these new containers from Kmart. Last time Darryl had to go into town, they got these new containers with these sealable lids. And I really could do with some more. I love my glass jars, but sometimes it's just really difficult to have everything in glass. And I'm not minding these. The kit, though, mind you, came with a whole bunch of different sizes, and some sizes I'm not going to use as much, and I'm really not fond of pink. But I'm going to have a look while I'm down there and see what they've got in the way of singles in the sizes that I will use the most. So anyway, side note. So yeah, I'm just going to stick with my standards. And what I might do is put this recipe up on the website for this video. I have it mostly done because I've made it quite a few times this week. So this base recipe is working really well for us. So I'm just going to mix up, and I'll probably mix up double lot over and put like 4 trays worth in the fridge for while I'm gone. So I've run out of date caramel, but I still do have some of the nut butter. Attempt, because I don't want to make a big batch of date caramel up at the moment because I just need it for this batch, is I'm going to put some coconut cream, dates, and a little dash of warm water in this individual blending cup and give this a blend and see if we can just get something we can use. After giving that a good blend, we've got pretty much date caramel. So it's not blended as well as it could be, and it's separate. There's like some bits that aren't as blended as others, but that is going to work perfectly fine for this and was super quick and easy. So I'm going to use that. All right, so standard, what do we got? We got the 400 grams of oats. We're going to do the 600 grams of yogurt. I made this yogurt last night. It's only been put in the fridge this morning, so it's still a little loose, but it will work for what we're doing it for. So mind you, I think I just had my measurements mixed up. I'm thinking about the pancake bake, but that's fine. So I ended up with about 600 grams of yogurt in here, which I think I normally only put 400. I normally do the same amount as the oats, which is fine, but it just means I'm just going to put sort of 100 grams of coconut cream. I used some of that in the date caramel anyway. I'm going to put a good, what's that? It's about 50 grams of the date caramel in there. I'm going to put some nut butter, 50 grams odd of nut butter in there as well. All right, and then I picked 2 protein powders for this one. This one is a mystery flavor, which we reckon tastes a little bit like birthday cake. So I'm going to do that for the first batch. And I don't have my book out here with me, so this one's a fly by the seat of my pants, but I have worked out the ratios in to be able to share it. I think I've even added the recipe to the website, I just haven't added the post. So anyway, we're going to blend this, and then I'm just going to repeat the process, but I have choc honeycomb for the second batch. Same process, put it in trays. 30 seconds, speed 5, and we have this, and the kids seem to really enjoy it, and there's good flavor in it. It's quite sweet because the protein powder is sweetened, as well as the bit of date caramel and a little bit of sweet from the nuts. So anyway, they like it. So I'm just going to make 2 of these up. There we go. 4 containers done as well. Ran out of chocolate at the end. The kids won't care. These containers were also ones that Darryl grabbed at Kmart for me when I got him to pick up some stuff. Again, a new one, and they're a 3-pack for $9. And now I love glass containers, like my glass jars, glass containers for leftovers and everything else. I really, really prefer them. But do you know what? They're a little impractical. For a start, they're heavy, but also they need to be stacked just so on shelving, whereas these ones can be thrown around and it's not such a big deal. So I will probably buy another couple of boxes of these on the trip too, because we've been setting the jelly in them, we've been doing the porridge and stuff in them and that sort of thing. Now, I did end up with The second batch that I just did, I bumped the oats up a little bit to 600 grams oats, which fills the container a little bit better, which I think will work better ratios for them. Kavik wants to do a flourish. There we go. So these are differently filled, but the kids will just eat from them, different flavors throughout the 3 days that I'm gone. All right, so I rearranged the fridge this morning to make sure to check everything that I had, and I've just gone and pulled out a bunch of fruit to make these up. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to use the same bowl because the bits of oats aren't going to hurt anything. We've got berries, we've got bananas, we've got, let me split out some of this fruit. We got some mango and some peaches, like that. There's some strawberries in there as well, all that sort of stuff. I still have these juices that I bought that were half price and I didn't really know what I was doing with, but they are working well for this. Again, it's only watered down juice and I could use plain juice and water it down myself, but these were $1 for a carton, so they were inexpensive. And then because I have yogurt, I'm going to do about the 500 grams of yogurt as well. Now, I trialed using some gelatin in this yogurt, and it looks like it's set up at the bottom but didn't blend through. I used to use gelatin in my coconut yogurt, but I hadn't tried it in cow's milk, so this was a bit of a failure, but it's still perfectly usable for this, and if anything, it'll just make the texture of the smoothie pops even better. I also have some chia seeds here. Some of the kids aren't real fond of chia seeds, but I think it's Sonnet who's mostly the one, and she doesn't really like the smoothie pops, so it won't affect her, will it? And then we might need a bit of water. I'll have to see if this will blend up or not. Protein powder, I need to wash my hands. I got just a vanilla one out for this, and I just put 1 scoop in and then blend it. We fill the ice pop molds like I've shown before, lids on, sticks on. I did just remember though that I was supposed to order more sticks and I haven't, so I don't know if I'm going to have enough sticks, but that just means I'll have to pop them out and eat them out of a bowl or something, you know. It's fine, so they will manage. So yeah, that's all I'm going to do is just scoop it into the molds, use a spatula to spread it out, and I'll make a bunch of them. If there's any chunks of fruit left, I'll just chuck it into the bowl for the next batch. And yeah, just same old, same old. Apollo and Sonnet came back from helping Darryl at the tip, so they want some straight smoothie, and I've actually run out of sticks now. So I got 3 trays of smoothie pops to go in the freezer, but still half a jug of smoothie left and no more sticks. But that's fine. They can have the smoothie as a before dinner treat, I suppose, but you know, that's what it is. The dough has proofed, so now I just need to clean up so I can shape that up. All right, dough. It has well and truly proofed. It's quite warm. Means it'll probably be a bit sticky, but I had to get the other stuff done first, so I've got generously floured my surface because I can see it going to be a bit sticky, and I might just pop half of it out to start with. It's not too bad actually, it's better than I expected. So, and do the normal, use a bit of flour to just create a little bit of a skin and tuck it up to a more manageable texture like that, and then we're just going to cut our dough balls from it, and I need some trays, so let me move you out of the way, move this a bit closer, and then grab a tray. As much as I adore sourdough, and I adore the texture of it, the taste of it, the crust and all the rest of it, there is so much that appeals about yeasted doughs, because this was a 3 o'clock idea. Grab some mince out of the freezer and I can have homemade hamburger buns ready. So that's the, you know, the yeasted appeal. So all I'm doing is 75-gram balls, bringing them together into a ball and then putting them on the tray. I will flatten them slightly before I bake them. All right, these don't need to proof very much because I just put them in a cold oven. Normally I would egg wash them, but I am really short on eggs. We're almost out of ghee as well, but we have alternatives for ghee. So I'm just going to give them a little bit of a brush with the ghee so that I can sprinkle some sesame seeds. Egg wash gives them a nice colour, but yeah, I'm really low on eggs and I'm not going to waste one on just the prettiness of some bread rolls. So all right, about 180, 25 odd minutes and they will be done. And then I will just make beef patties for them to have with them. Simple buns, they're just basic hamburger buns. They will be tasty, nothing special, but it will be good to for them to have it while I'm gone as well, the extra buns. So now I'm just going to pull the mince out and make some hamburger patties. Hamburger patties, all I do is add a bit of salt and a bit of onion powder to some mince and form it into patties, and then we will fry them off. Super simple, not much in the way of salad or anything to have with the burgers, but the kids won't mind. So just bring that together and then I'll just shape it and fry it off. So that was all the meals. I don't remember how I finished off the last meal, so I'm just going to put this little snippet here just in case. So that was it for the week in the last week of a 9-week shopping period. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed it. And this video is a little all over the place. I do find what we eat in weeks are really hard to do because I have to keep the footage from each day over a week separate to other things, and I never remember what I've said from one to the next, or whether I'm covering like current stuff that's happening in our lives as well while I'm happen to be chatting, because I forget that it's all just a little muddled. And I'm still just, you know, I've been doing this for like 4 years now, 3 or 4 years now, doing YouTube for that long, and I still feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. So I am really glad and grateful that I have an audience who likes to watch and follow along and give me advice and all the rest of it, because it helps me to keep going. So I will see you guys on the next video.